Hiya humans. 2 episodes of the video channel ago, I put up a thing about gun violence in Buddhism or something like that, and I got a comment back that read as follows. This quote from Dogen highlights a common distinction often missed. Notice, he writes, when even for a moment you express the Buddha seal by sitting upright in Samadhi. There is a difference between doing Zazen and actually being in Samadhi. Samadhi is not something you do, not a verb. It's something that happens to you gradually, incrementally over a number of years. When attained deeply, one should experience this not only when sitting in a tranquil environment, but in all activities engaged in the wider social world. Now, this is a kind of a common way of understanding Samadhi, that Samadhi is a special state and it's super duper, and you should have this, what does it say? You should experience this not only when sitting in a tranquil environment, but in all activities. So, this person who's writing this is describing a state that is very special and very hard to attain, and a kind of elite state that only, certain special super people get. So if you look up Samadhi on the internets, here's what you get. This is Google's first thing that I came up with when I searched it on Google. A state of intense concentration achieved through meditation. In Hindu yoga, this is regarded as the final stage at which union with the divine is reached, before or at death. If we look it up on the handy Shambhala Dictionary of Buddhism and Zen, here's what we get. Samadhi, Sanskrit, literally establish or make firm, Japanese, sanmai or zanmai. Collectedness of the mind on a single object through gradual calming of mental activities. Samadhi is a non-dualistic state of consciousness in which the consciousness of the experiencing subject becomes one with the experienced object. Both subject and object are in scare quotes there, by the way. This state of consciousness is often referred to as one-pointedness of mind. So, when you hear Samadhi, usually people are thinking of a special super-duper state, and that's what my commenter is thinking of. But that's not how Dogen uses the word Samadhi, and to understand how Dogen uses Samadhi, we have to kind of step back and look at some other things that Dogen says. In Bendoa, which occurs in the first chapter of Shobo Genzo in most modern renditions, he says, the thought that practice and experience are not one thing is just the idea of non-Buddhists. So Buddhists think practice and experience are one thing, which he says in the next line. In the Buddha Dharma, practice and experience are completely the same. Practice now is also experience in the state of experience. Therefore, a beginner's pursuit of the truth is just the whole body of the original state of experience. The word Dogen is using for practice and experience is a combination of two Chinese characters, which probably would be pronounced shusho if you were a Japanese person reading it. The first one, sho or shu, I think it's pronounced shu in this case. It means discipline, conduct, study, or mastery. That's in contemporary Japanese. The second one, sho, usually means in contemporary Japanese evidence or proof. I remember when I had my little ID card, it was called a Gaikokujin Shomei Sho, which is a foreigner ID card, and the sho was the same sho, Shomei Sho, so it's like a proof. Nishijima Roshi, consistently with Mike Cross as his co-translator, translates these as practice and experience. And by practice and experience, he means Zazen and so-called enlightenment or Satori or Samadhi. So this is Dogen saying that Samadhi or Satori or enlightenment, one-pointedness, concentration, the final union with the divine, whatever, your words you want to use, is also the same as ordinary practice. This is why he says a beginner's practice is let me look it up for you. A beginner's pursuit of the truth is just the whole body of the original state of experience. So there's your whole enlightenment is right there in your original practice of Zazen. So, in Dogen's way of understanding Zazen, it's not that you do Zazen in order to eventually have a special experience called Samadhi or Satori or Kensho or whatever enlightenment. It's not that you do it to experience that special state someday in the future. What you do instead is sit in Zazen as you are, unenlightened as you are, and try to fully experience that state. The actual state you're having right now, the state you're having right now, sitting there with your bag of potato chips watching YouTube and in the middle of the night or whatever it is that you watch these videos while doing. That is his Samadhi. That is his Satori. And this is a really, really, really hard one for anybody to grasp. And I say that as a person who had a hell of a time grasping that. And my story for how I finally kind of came around to it, and this is very early on in my practice, but this really formed something important in my practice, was, and I've probably told this on this channel before, so bear with me. I was dating a girl at the time when I first started this Zazen thing who was a born-again Christian. Don't ask. It didn't work out. But she was very resentful of my Zazen practice. She talked to Tim, my first Zen teacher, and somewhere in that conversation she reported back to me that Tim had said, "Oh, Brad will never get enlightened." And I was kind of sad to hear this from my Zen teacher, that I'll never get enlightened, because, I wanted to get enlightened. But I was already real into this practice, really into the practicality of it and how it helped my life, how it helped just make the day go better if I did Zazen in the morning. So I wasn't about to quit. So instead of making my practice about finding some enlightened state in the future, I decided I'm going to just use my practice to deeply examine what not being enlightened is all about, and what being incapable of enlightenment, as my teacher had said, apparently, was all about. Well, it turns out I eventually worked up the nerve to ask Tim about that conversation. This is probably a year or two later, I think. And he said he didn't remember saying that at all, but if he said it, it was because she had some really bizarre idea of what enlightenment is, and him saying Brad will never get enlightened was just saying that thing that you're calling enlightenment, it just doesn't exist. So it was a complete misunderstanding, but it really helped my practice. If you really want to know what Dogen thinks of Samadhi and how he defines Samadhi, one of the best places to look it up is in Shobogenzo Book 3 of the Nishijima Cross version, and I think this appears in Book 2 of the Kaz Tanahashi version. It's chapter 72 in sort of standard way of figuring out what order to put Dogen's stuff in. I think the Tanahashi one is like one off from the Nishijima one, so it's like maybe 73 or 71 in his, but it's close enough. So Zanmai O Zanmai is the translation that Mike Cross and Nishijima Roshi gave it. Samadhi, that is king of samadhis. So if you look at the characters for here, it's Zanmai is how they that's what they make Samadhi in, and then it ends with Sammai. And the middle character is O, which means king, and that appears in Kaiju O Godzilla. Kaiju is monster, O. So Kaiju O Gojira is king of the Godzilla, king of the monsters in Japanese. Same king. It's also a very common Chinese last name. A lot of people are named O, but it's pronounced Wong in Chinese. Because I knew a Mr. Wong at my work. This is a very short chapter. It takes up only 3 pages and a couple of lines on a 4th page in this English translation. So really short and really easy to get through. And I'm just going to read you the whole first paragraph of the Nishijima Cross version, and I'll stop and maybe explain a few things as I go along. To transcend the whole universe at once, to live a great and valuable life in the house of the Buddhist patriarchs, is to sit in the full lotus posture. Now, he says full lotus posture, and you don't need to get too hung up on that, because he already says in his explanation of how to do Zazen that you don't have to do the full lotus posture. You can do the half lotus posture, and from there we're just allowing a lot of other sort of postures. It's not about how you twist up your legs. It's about this sitting upright and making a base for the sitting upright that allows that to happen. In the Kaz Tanahashi version approved by the San Francisco Zen Center, they don't want to seem able ableist, I guess. So they change all the references to Kekkafuza, which is full lotus posture, to the meditation posture, which is fine. My only argument with that is it changes what was a translation into an interpretation, whereas the Nishijima Cross one is definitely a translation rather than an interpretation. To tread over the heads of non-Buddhists and demons, to become in the inner sanctum of the Buddhist patriarchs a person in the concrete state, is to sit in the full lotus posture. Again, that just means do zazen. To transcend the supremacy of the Buddhist patriarch's supremacy, there is only one method. So this goes beyond being Buddha. Therefore, Buddhist patriarchs practice it solely, having no other practices at all. So he's really adamant about this zazen thing. Remember, the universe in sitting is far different from other universes. That's a pretty bold claim. I don't pass that kind of stuff over easily. I used to, but I think he's being literal here. The universe in sitting is far different from other universes. Clearly understanding this truth, Buddhist patriarchs pursue and realize the establishment of the will, training, the state of Bodhi, and nirvana. Just in the moment of sitting, investigate whether the universe is vertical and whether it is horizontal. Just in the moment of sitting, what is sitting itself? That is the question. Just in the moment of sitting, what is sitting itself? You think that sitting is just sitting. Like, I'm just sitting here talking to my computer right now. That's sitting. That's nothing. You know, the Samadhi, that's the big thing. It's over there. It's Samadhi. Oh, that's the one-pointedness concentration. This is just sitting. That's what ordinary people think. But what Dogen is advising is getting deeply, deeply into the actual experience of sitting itself. The ordinary experience of sitting, this everyday thing you're doing all the time, you're probably doing it right now. Look into that. See what that is. See how incredible and cosmic and amazing that is. Unadulterated, unadded to by Samadhi or anything else. Is it a somersault? Is it a state of vigorous activity? Is it thinking? Is it beyond thinking? Is it doing something? Is it not doing anything? Is it sitting inside of sitting? Is it sitting inside of the body-mind? Is it sitting that is free of the inside of sitting as a definition, or the inside of body-mind, and so on? Is it free of all your concepts of what it should be, or what, things are, or what samadhi is? There should be investigation of thousands and tens of thousands of points like these. Sit in the full lotus posture with the body. Sit in the full lotus posture with the mind. Sit in the full lotus posture being free of body and mind. That's some heady stuff, and I recommend finishing off the chapter. I'll leave a link to where you can find this online as a PDF for free if you want to go and look at it yourself. I advise you to do so if you're interested in this stuff. But that's Dogen's view. Dogen's view is never that samadhi, or any of these other terms you want to use for it, is some special thing that is the union of the divine or whatever, that is far off and away from where you are right now. What Dogen wants us to look at is where we are right now. And that's where I am right now. I will next Wednesday, whatever day in August 2019 next Wednesday is, I will finish off the koan chapter that I started last Wednesday at Angel City Zen Center. So come and see that. That'll be my final reading from the book Letters to a Dead Friend about Zen that is going to come out in October. But after that, I'm going to do some other stuff. We're going to start doing the podcast over there. And please come and be part of that, because that'll be interesting. As always, I depend on your support. I don't make loads of money on this, but what I do make comes mostly from your donations. It really does. I don't get much for book royalties. I don't get a whole lot for retreat fees. My main source of income for the last 3 or 4 years has been your donations, so thank you very much. That's what makes this happen, and what allows me to spend I think I spent about 4 hours preparing this video, if you can believe that, over last night and this morning, and reading a bunch of stuff and looking up a bunch of stuff. That's what allows me to do that. If I had to get a regular job and work shoving pizzas in an oven or whatever I'm qualified for these days, wouldn't be able to do that, so you've helped me to do that. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye.